Clack of the Geek here, and welcome back to a brand new video. We're continuing the Doctor Who Modern Series ranking with Series 3. Now, Series 3 is obviously the third series of Modern Who. It is David Tennant's second series of the Doctor, and it's the first series to not have Rose as the companion. We've got a new companion with Martha Jones, who I really like as a companion. I think she was somewhat underused, and I think she's I just think she's a really good companion. And this is where Tennant really ups his game in terms of his acting and as the Doctor. I mean, it's not flawless, I don't think. There are a couple of duds, but it's a vast improvement from Series 2. And I do really enjoy this series. And this is going to sound a bit weird here, but I have a weird sort of nostalgia for this series, even though I didn't watch it when it came out. You see, what it was is that my mum and my brother used to watch Doctor Who in the Eccleston Tennant era. And this is the series that they can remember the best, because when I was getting into Doctor Who, my mum was also like recommending me certain episodes, and she remembers like telling me about watching like certain episodes from the series, like the Shakespeare Code, Gridlock, Blink, and especially the finale. Like, she remembers that so vividly, like the Master, him taking over Britain, Captain Jack. You know, she remembers it really well. And I remember we went and got when they did like the DVD volumes like for each series. I remember that was one of the first ones I got, the Series 3 finale, so Utopia, Sound of Drums, Last of Time Lords. And, you know, I have a weird nostalgia for it, even though I wasn't watching the series. But anyway, let's get on with the ranking. Number 9, The Lazarus Experiment. This is a story which I just find incredibly dull. It's got an already generic and basic concept with mad scientist turned monster, but doesn't add its own Doctor Who-y flair to it, which makes it utterly disposable. There's a couple of good things here, like Mark Gates is very good in it. I like David Tennant's costume, and it's got some nice quotes like the some people live more in 20 years than others do in 80. That's a good quote, but other than that, it's just a really dull, boring story. Number 8, Daleks in Manhattan and Evolution of the Daleks. Now, if I'm being honest, I actually don't mind the first part. I think it's got some nice atmosphere to it, and I really love the setting of Depression-era New York, like 1930s, and like the theatre, and like the Empire State Building. I do quite like that, but it's just the second part that really lets it down. First of all, the idea of a Dalek turning good has already been done with Dalek, and even the classic series with Evil of the Daleks, and even Into the Daleks from Series 8 did it better, so this just doesn't add anything new to that idea. And also in the second part, it just gets a bit samey. It doesn't really focus on those interesting ideas in the first part, and just sort of becomes a bit too much style over substance, which sometimes can work, but in this case, it doesn't work for me. Number 7, 42. Now, this is a story that I genuinely can't remember a single thing about. I mean, it's Chris Chibnall, so no wonder it's this bland, but except for the scene with Martha calling her mum, like with the, like those sort of emotional scenes, that is all I can remember. It's just so boring. Number 6, The Shakespeare Code. I've talked about why I like the story in my underrated Doctor Who stories video, but in short, I find it a cool historical, it's nice and fun, but dark at the same time. It's got great historical figure, great setting, great monsters. It's just a fun, spooky adventure. Number 5, Gridlock. Now, after rewatching this story in the Global Watch Along a couple of months ago, I found a new appreciation for the story. I find it quite a cool concept, which feels grand in scale, but also quite small scale at the same time. There's some nice little characters. It was great to see the Mac return, as I'm a fan of them in the Macra Terror, the Patrick Troughton story, so it was great to see them return. And there's some genuinely emotional moments, such as the face of Bo's death, everybody singing in unison on the motorway, and the Doctor's I'm the Last of the Time Lords scene. And it wraps up the New Earth trilogy with The End of the World, New Earth, and Gridlock with a nice little bow. Number 4, Utopia, The Sound of Drums, and Last of the Time Lords. Now, this story is really interesting. First of all, Utopia is sort of a great misdirection. It makes it seem like it's this bog standard sci-fi adventure, which it is quite engaging until it hits you with that massive twist of the Master reveal, with Derek Jacobi playing the Master for like 2 minutes, but he is absolutely incredible, and that cliffhanger is phenomenal. The Sound of Drums is a really good political thriller with the Master taking over Britain, which is a really sort of weird but relatable concept. It's quite scary, and seeing the Doctor, Jack and Martha as fugitives is really quite intense. Also, the track This Is Gallifrey is genuinely beautiful. You get to see more of the Time Lords. I also think John Simmers, the Master, is quite good in this. Not amazing, but he's still quite good in this. However, Last of the Time Lords really lets the story down. It's got some good ideas in the beginning with the Toclafane, but it just hits the reset button and it just writes itself into a corner by the end, so that's what lets it down a bit. Number 3, Smith and Jones. This is just a really fun pulp sci-fi story, and I love it. I think the concept of these space rhinos invading a hospital on the moon is just really funny, really quirky. I love the Jejune as a monster. I love the plasma form, how it's just like this old lady who sucks people's blood with a straw. It's just such a wacky concept, but I love it. And with the introduction of Martha, it feels like a proper breath of fresh air for the show, which I think it needed at this point. Number 2, Blink. And do I even need to explain why this is so high up on the list? The Weeping Angels, Sally Sparrow, the horror aspect, the timey-wimey concept, it's all just brilliant. However, I do think it's a tad overrated in the sense that when people have never seen Doctor Who, people say, oh, you need to watch Blink to start off with. I disagree with that. It's not a conventional Doctor Who story, so they're not getting a taste of what Doctor Who's usually like. So that's where I find it a tad overrated, and that's why it's not number 1 on the list. Number 1, Human Nature and the Family of Blood. This story, based on the Doctor Who novel of the same name, is just incredible. The idea of the Doctor becoming a human is a really great idea, and it really puts him into perspective of how he sees himself as a god above humans, but because he doesn't factor love into his decision to become human, and that's really puts it into perspective, and David Tennant does incredibly well in this story. I also think this is where Martha truly shines. She really gets to be very independent, and she's a great character in this. And the villains as well, the actual Family of Blood themselves, are really creepy and unsettling, and especially Son of Mine, Baines. He's such a creepy, slimy, wormy villain. He's just really unsettling to watch. And I also think the Scarecrows are really creepy as well. Overall, it's a story of 2 halves, with the first part being a fantastic character study of the Doctor being a human, and the second part being a proper sort of action, almost sort of a base on the siege, like survival story, which all connect at the end, and it is a genuinely beautiful story. So how would you rank Series 3? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, click the notification bell so you don't miss a thing, and this is Clack of the Geek, signing out. Ta-ra.